Cloaked in grandeur and splendor, and with high hopes on the horizon, the lion begins his odyssey. This is Planet Lions. Prepare to see the animal kingdom in a whole new light. Our first encounter is with a divisional and mammalian rival. Ford Field is a landscape that has the tendency to induce bears into early hibernation for the winter. Peculiar, but highly thrilling to witness. In the quaint dairy heartland known as Wisconsin, life is slow, made characteristic by the prevalence of cows and the fine art of cheese-making. The state knows no greater claim to fame than its dietary output, of course. The deserts of Arizona hold many a creature, like this illustrious lizard, or the dazzling dart beetle tiptoeing its way up the Yuma sand dunes. But one creature, the cardinal, doesn't often show up. Laissez le bon temps rouler is typically heard throughout New Orleans as it means, let the good times roll. But don't expect the Saints to experience any semblance of a good time when they meet the lions in their den. In the jungle, the mighty, mighty jungle, which, by the way, is a very popular myth, it is actually the Serengeti where the lion sleeps at night. The rest is much needed as he prepares for his upcoming brush with a fellow big cat. The stateliness of the jaguar is truly a sight to behold. However, even its sleek and quite frankly fashionable spots are incomparable to the natural monarch of the animal kingdom. The one that reigns supreme over all, the lion. Birds of prey revel in rather notorious reputation, and while one should not underestimate the swiftness a falcon will bring to battle, on this playing field the beak should be truly wary of the tooth. Very wary indeed. It is a little-known fact that a colt is a male horse that is younger than 4 years old. What adorable little things. The autumnal colts of Indiana may be fleet of foot, with speeds reaching upwards of 65 kilometers per hour. However, that is no match for the swift lion, who can easily surpass the equine at 80 kilometers per hour, while leaping an insurmountable 10 times farther. Minnesota sees the interesting local behavior of playing dress-up to honor some of history's most infamous and fierce warriors. How much merriment it must bring them to play pretend. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., the majesty of the United States of America's capital is unparalleled, with all its pomp and circumstance. But the indomitable Motown provides music for the soul. And a lion's victory is a feast for the body and mind. East of the Appalachians, the panther makes Carolina its domain. This week, two big cats will collide to determine who will be the predator and who will be the prey. Wise choice. The traditional giving of thanks. This calendrical Thursday in November brings the Texans of Houston to the lion's den. It is a popular idiom to take the bull by the horns, meaning to reach for your desired outcome. There is a reason the person who originated that phrase didn't decide to use grab a lion by its mane. They wouldn't have lived to tell the tale. For decades in the Windy City, the superbly cute and cuddly bear has been companion of choice for children. No harm could ever come from it, for a less intimidating creature surely does not exist. Across Lake Michigan, the stench of rotten cheese is an acquired taste. However, it is a delicacy in the city called Detroit to enjoy spoiled and/or shredded Green Bay-produced cheese at home. A true clash of the titans is at stake in Tennessee. All those who are familiar with the adventures laid out in Greek mythology know mere mortals don't fare well against lions. Those that stand should try to see if Hercules himself is available, and I dare say that's unlikely. Best of luck indeed. The hunt for buried treasure has driven many a buccaneer mad with lust and greed. In fact, many have been known to lose their heads in pursuit of those riches. These buccaneers, though captained by a legend of the sea, will find no gold, jewels, or wins at Ford Field on this day, as their quest for valuables continues to elude them. Perhaps they should try Soldier Field. Our journey concludes where it began. Home. Horned helmets have often been associated with the Viking warrior. However, there is no evidence that Viking helmets did in fact have horns. As a remembrance to their Scandinavian roots, the Viking bands of Minnesota set sail across the Great Lakes in an attempt to lay siege to the city of Detroit. However, this Viking clan is not prepared for what lies in wait when they reach the Motor City.
How's it going, everybody? It's C-RadTV, back here with another video, and yes, I got a lion's foam head on. Yeah, fuck the cheese head, it's the lion's head now. So yeah, really going in with the whole Planet Lions thing. I decided to come on here and wear the lion's head with it, too, for this Lions experience. And we're all part of the ride for this year's experience, as this year, the 2020 NFL Lions schedule is officially out. 17 weeks for this year. And this is all before any cancellations due to that goddamn coronavirus. Here's hoping we don't have to deal with those stupid fucking murder hornets too. But yeah. So yeah, 17 weeks. If anyone's wondering, no, the Lions do not have any primetime games this year. At least, not yet. So anyway, 17 weeks, let's go through the schedule and see how I think the Lions will do this year. Of course, schedule predictions really don't mean jack shit right now, because we haven't seen the team practice yet, so we don't know what the product will be how the product will be on the field. But, you know what? Let's do some predictions, because we got nothing better to do. Plus, you know what? For some of these predictions, I can dream, damn it. So yeah, anyway... And of course, we all know last year, I picked the Lions to go 10-6, and that went badly wrong. Went so wrong that I was fucking embarrassed over it. So yeah, let's hear hoping that the Lions fare better this season for sure. So anyway, enough talk. Let's go ahead and jump right to the schedule. As you see on the screen over here, I have the schedule covering the entire background of my video here. And of course, the video is covering the damn lion over on there. Sorry, but at least I got the head to make up for it. Anyway, let's move on to the schedule. So, week 1, oh ho ho, here we go. Week 1 at home to Chicago. At home against the Bears. We facing Shatoilet week 1. We got ourselves a war week to open the season. I like that a lot. Sunday afternoon game, week 1. Oh yeah, I think we beat the Bears. I got the Lions winning that game to open the year. I say Lions get that win. You know, Stafford's coming in with a massive chip on his shoulder. I honestly think the Lions would sweep the Bears last year if Stafford was healthy. If we had a healthy Stafford, I think Lions would sweep the Bears, no doubt. And we don't even know who the Bears quarterback's going to be in this game, if it's going to be Mitch Trubisky or Big Dick Nick. Bears, they had a pretty mad draft, so, and they got a shitload of tight ends, so that offense is very suspect. Defense looks to be solid once again for the Bears, but I'm not sold on the Bears offense. We don't know who the QB is. So, for week 1, I'm going to take the safe bet and take Detroit in this one. So, yeah, I'm going to go Lions to win that game. So, the Lions go 1-0 to open the season. Week 2, the Lions head on the road for a Sunday afternoon game in Green Bay to face the Packers. Packers had a very crappy draft this year. It's like, Green Bay, what in the hell were you doing in the draft? Like, Green Bay had a lot of issues at linebacker and wide receiver. And in round 1, they trade up 4 spots to draft a quarterback. When Aaron Rodgers still has 4 years on his contract left. Obvious, so it looks like Green Bay is throwing in the towel on their championship window already. Damn. Interesting. But, honestly, Green Bay probably could have got him in the second round, maybe. But, that pick is just questionable. And then they spent their second round pick on a running back. And the Packers didn't even dress wide receiver in the draft at all. The only receiver they got was they got Devin Funchess to complement Devontae Adams. So yeah, Green Bay, it looks like they're on a bit of a free fall, but for week 2 in Green Bay, I'm going to say the Lions lose that game. I feel like something's going to happen because remember, last year when we played the Packers in Green Bay on Monday night, the Lions got screwed over in that game because of bullshit hands to the face. I feel like something's going to happen and the Lions are going to get screwed over again. So yeah, week 2, I got that as a loss, so Lions go to 1-1. Week 3 in Arizona to face the Cardinals. This is going to be an interesting game because this game's unfinished business. Because last year, against the Cardinals, we tied against them. That we never had a winner in that game. So this time we get to finish what we started last year. And this time there must be a winner. I'll say this though, Arizona has a very good, it looks like a pretty solid team, up-and-coming team for sure. They got good off-season acquisitions. They drafted Isaiah Simmons. They got a good steal in Josh Jones for offensive line protection to protect Kyler Murray. And they flat-out stole DeAndre Hopkins from the Texans. So, very solid off-season from the Cardinals. If the Lions had to play the Cardinals later in the season, I would pick this game as a loss. Because at that point, because later in the season, Kyler Murray and company will have this thing on track. But I think it's early in the season, which means there's a good chance the Lions can pull a win out of their ass. So I say week 3 in Arizona, I got that game as a win. I say Lions get that win. I think that's going to be the game the Lions are not supposed to win. And I think they find a way to win that game. So I got the Lions winning that game. Lions going to 2-1. Week 4 at home to New Orleans. Oh, the Saints are a fucking scary team this year. I think Saints are going to be a very good team this year. Again, there's the contenders for the NFC South. At home to the Saints, I got that game as a loss. I just don't see Stafford beating the Saints. The Saints are really good top to bottom. It's just the Saints got to find a way to get it done in the playoffs. Everyone says the Saints are going to get there this year. Just be warned, Saints. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. I'm watching your every move from here on out. You have to prove something to me after you shit the bed last year. So yeah, week 4, at home to the Saints. I got that as a loss, so Lions go 2-2. And week 5, it's the Lions bye week, so Lions are getting screwed over once again with an early season bye week. Again. Fuck me. So yeah, second year in a row, we have the bye week in week 5. So yeah, anyway, continuing on, week 6, Lions head on the road to Jacksonville on Sunday. I say that game is a win. I think Jacksonville's tanking for Trevor Lawrence. So I got that game as a win. There's no reason we shouldn't lose to Jacksonville. You know, Jacksonville does have some solid pieces on their defense for sure. I'm not sold on Gardner Minshew, though. I don't think Minshew is a long-term answer. Prove me wrong, Jacksonville. Week 7 in Atlanta to face the Falcons. Fun fact for this game, this will be Stafford's first game in Georgia ever since he got drafted. Because Stafford's never played the Falcons in Georgia. So it'll be Stafford's first trip to Georgia since his college days. And keep in mind, last time the Lions played the Falcons, they got flat out fucked over by the rest when they ruled Golden Tate short by an inch when he was clearly in the end zone for a touchdown. So, revenge game there. That game, I say we win that game. I think Stafford on the road, he's going to be in Georgia for the first time since college days. It's going to be a big game for Stafford. I say Stafford comes through. And it'll also be Desmond Trufant's first game in Atlanta since leaving the Falcons in free agency. So it's going to be also a Trufant homecoming. So yeah, for that game, give me a win in that one. I got the Lions beating the Falcons, so I got the Lions going to 4-2 now. Week 8, at home to Indianapolis. I got that game as a loss. I think the Colts are going to be a very under-the-radar team. You know, they did decent with Jacoby Brissett last year. They got Phillip Rivers in on a 1-year deal, as it looks like it's going to be Phillip Rivers' final hurrah season. And they got their QB of the future, and Jacob Eason sitting behind him. You know, the Colts are just a pretty underrated team. I would definitely want to sleep on the Colts. I'm going to say that game is a loss. Give me a loss in that one. So I got the Lions going to 4-3. Week 9 in Minnesota. Thank God this is a Sunday game and not a Monday. Bad news is this isn't a Monday night game, since Kirk Cousins is winless in Monday night games. So yeah, week 9 in Minnesota. I got that game as a loss. You know, I think we split the Vikings this year. So I got that game as a loss. You know, the Vikings, I think the Vikings had a pretty solid draft to make up for all the pieces they lost. You know, they replaced Stephon Diggs with Justin Jefferson. You know, they lost a few pieces on defense with, who was it, I think it was Linval, Everson Griffin was gone, along with Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes, but they got Jeff Gladney and Cameron Dantzler in there. So, yeah, they got some solid pieces in there. I think Minnesota is going to be a tough team to beat in the North this year. So, yeah, the game in Minnesota against the Vikings, I got that game as a loss. So, I got the Lions falling to 4-4. Week 10, at home to the Washington Redskins. You know, I got that game as a win. I think if Stafford played that game last year, the Lions would have won that game in Washington, no doubt. I'll say this though, Washington looks like they're going to have a pretty good defensive line this year with now the addition of Chase Young in there. Like, that's going to be a pretty good defensive line and defensive unit. And they also addressed the burnt toast nose and got rid of Josh Norman. The question is, though, can Dwayne Haskins develop into a franchise quarterback for the Redskins? I don't know yet, but maybe he can take some strides this year. So I say Redskins, we get that win. Lions go to 5-4. Week 11 in Carolina, I got that game as a win. The Panthers, they're rebuilding. I think the Panthers are tanking for Trevor Lawrence also. I'll say it here. Folks. Teddy Bridgewater is not a long-term answer for the Carolina Panthers. Like, the Panthers, no doubt, are in rebuild. Like, they did their entire draft on defense. Got some solid defensive pieces in Derek Brown and Yuter Gross-Matos. You know, they got some solid defensive pieces, for sure. And they spent free agency on offense. So, but I think the Panthers are tanking and rebuilding. I think they're in the tank bowl for Trevor Lawrence. So I got that game as a win. So I got the Lions beating the Panthers. Lions going to 6-4. Now, Week 12, Thanksgiving. Lions play host to the Houston Texans. So, of course, the last time the Lions played host to the Houston Texans in Detroit, it was on Thanksgiving in 2012, and we all know what happened. That game had some more ref ball in it, too. When the Houston receiver was not ruled down by contact when his knee was obviously on the ground. And then they were able to get a touchdown that would eventually give the Texans the win. So yeah, we get a revenge game 8 years in the making. And by the way, Houston, we haven't forgot about that screw job. We have not forgotten about that. And I'll say this for Houston, I think Houston's gonna free fall this year. I got the Lions winning that game. I think Houston's free falling this year after they blew a 24-point lead in the playoffs. In one quarter, within 10 minutes. To the Chiefs. Because I'll say it here. Houston blowing that lead, I feel that Houston blowing that lead had 28-3 vibes written all over it. Like, I think Houston's gonna fall apart this year. I think Houston's gonna miss the playoffs this year. Because I think a majority of the players are not gonna get over it. I mean, just look at the Atlanta Falcons after they blew 28-3 and how far they fallen. I think that's gonna happen to Houston. I'm not sure why Bill O'Brien is still in Houston. Bill O'Brien should have got fired after that choke job last year. I'm going to be real here. And hell, Bill O'Brien really fucked up that DeAndre Hopkins trade. Like, if you're going to trade your number one receiver away, you do not come back with a second-round pick and David Johnson's awful contract. Plain and simple. Like, Bill O'Brien really fucked that trade up. So, yeah, I got the Lions beating the Texans. So, I got the Lions going to 7-4. Week 13 in Chicago. A cold weather game. Lions don't fare well in cold weather. So, I got that game as a loss. So, I got the Lions going to 7-5. I think the game against Chicago, I think that's going to be the game the Lions are supposed to win. And I think they're going to find a way to lose it. So, yeah, I got a loss there in Chicago in Week 13, so Lions at 7-5 now. Week 14, at home to Green Bay. I said the Lions finally get payback for last year. From that screw job last year and the potential screw job earlier in the year. I say the Lions finally get payback for it. They beat the Packers Week 14 at home in the Den, and the Lions go to 8-5. So I got the Lions beating the Packers Week 14 and splitting with Green Bay. I do not see Green Bay getting sweeping Detroit 3 years in a row. Especially now with that tension now supposedly between Aaron Rodgers and the Packers organization over the Jordan Love pick. Sorry about that. Look, I'm going to be honest here, Green Bay. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to pull a Brett Favre. I think he's going to stab you in the back. The only difference is this time, I don't think he's going to Minnesota. I think he's going to either go to New England or he's going to go to Chicago. I think he's going to one of those two teams. He's not going to Minnesota. I'll say it here. It's either New England or Chicago. He's going to stab Green Bay in the back four. Because now, Aaron Rodgers is now getting the Brett Favre treatment over that pick. Like, Aaron Rodgers is now about to know how Brett Favre felt when the Packers drafted Rodgers 15 years ago. And I'll say it here, the Jordan Love situation is a lot different than the Rodgers one. The Rodgers one, Aaron Rodgers was in the conversation for the number one pick that year. And then the 49ers took Alex Smith, and then Rodgers fell all the way down to him at 24. And then Green Bay picked him up there. This one, Jordan Love wasn't really projected to go high in the draft. I think the highest they had him going was maybe late first round. And in this one, Green Bay had to trade up to get Jordan Love. And I had a feeling Jordan Love was going to be there at 30. So, yeah. But yeah, anyway, I got the Lions beating the Packers in Week 14. So I got the Lions going to 8-5. Week 15 in Tennessee. Now, this game's either going to be a Saturday game or a Sunday game, depending on both teams' records. So yeah, so this game could have playoff implications. If it has playoff implications, it could be a Saturday game. But yeah, either way, it's going to be a cold weather game. And we all know the Lions don't fare well in cold weather, so I got that game against Tennessee as a loss. So I got the Lions losing to the Titans in Week 15. So I got the Lions falling to 8-6 there. Week 16, at home to Tampa Bay. That game could either be a Saturday game or a Sunday game, depending on both teams' records, and could have playoff implications. Of course, Tampa Bay could be the final time that Tom Brady plays at Ford Field, since Brady left New England in the offseason to join Tampa Bay. I got this game as a win. I'm going to be straight up here. I think Tampa Bay is going to be the biggest disappointment this year. I'm not sold on the Buccaneers hype. I think Tampa Bay has been extremely overhyped this year. Tampa Bay's getting a Tom Brady that's coming off the worst season of his career. And Tom Brady is in his mid-40s. And they also get Gronk. And Gronk hasn't played in over a year. And he's been focused on being the WWE 24/7 champion as of late. How long will that last? But yeah, anyway, continuing on. But in Gronk's last couple years in the league before he retired initially, Gronk had issues staying healthy. Now, granted, Brady has a better set of weapons in Tampa Bay this year than he had in New England last year. But still, I think Tom Brady, we're seeing the beginning of the end. He's not the same quarterback he used to be. I feel like Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers, I'm comparing it to when Michael Jordan signed with the Washington Wizards. It's got that kind of vibes there. It's going to be like when Michael Jordan signed with the Wizards. And we all know how that ended. It didn't end well. So yeah, I got the Lions beating the Buccaneers in Week 16. Like hell, we beat Tom Brady when he had Bill Belichick as coach. If we could beat Brady when he has Belichick as coach, then we can beat Brady with any other coach he has. No excuses. So yeah, Week 16, I got that as a win. And to end the season, Week 19, at home to the Minnesota Vikings. I got this game as a win. You know, this game could be a primetime matchup. It could be for a playoff spot. It could be for the division title. You know, I think Minnesota is going to be a tough team to beat this year. But I think the Lions finally beat the Vikings in this game. I say the Lions get the W at home against the Vikings. They end the season with a win. And so with that, I have the Lions finishing the year 10-6. Now, 10-6 with the new playoff format, 10-6 should be enough to get in at least a wild card situation. And the playoffs, who knows what happens. So yeah, I got 10-6. You know, a lot of these predictions don't really mean shit until we've seen what the product is on the field, and we see the players practice, and we see and we see how they at least do in preseason and compete. But yeah, that's my schedule predictions. What are your schedule predictions? Where do you think I went right? Where do you disagree with me? You know, let's debate down in the comments. But yeah, that's all I gotta say, folks. Hope everyone's a great day, and yeah, peace out, and let's see. And now watch me get half of these wrong again.